Yes, I did. So I packed it up and brought it back to the crib. Just a little something to show you how we live.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Trey Gibson here. Big Things Fantasy Football, and it looks like we have a champion. Yes, we do, in the immortal words of Kanye West. There's a champion in your eyes, and this one goes out to the 2009 champions, Harlem Giants. And boy, let me tell you, I had a very candid post-game interview with Coach Elvis Harry, and he explained to me his thought process during the game and after the game as it was concluding. He felt confident before the game, but his confidence kind of stumbled a little bit during the game. And once he knew he had a legitimate shot, he felt like he was unstoppable, and that's great. You know, when I spoke to Coach Harry, basically some things came up, some good points came up. This is his second championship appearance in as many years. Also, you know, by him maintaining his status to where he's actually gotten to a championship 2 times and been able to pull one off in this league, it's very refreshing to him. And you know, when I spoke to him, the first thing that he brought up was he brought up the likes of some other teams. He said, how, specifically, he was saying, how do I come into this league not really aware of what happens in fantasy football? And then you have the likes of some others, like, you know, people who are at the bottom of the barrel, and they do not have the fortitude or the know-how on how to manage their teams and keep them at the pinnacle of the league. And, you know, I completely agreed with him. You know, he brought up Team Stanovich and Quentin Bell and the Detroit Evil Assholes as a couple of references to his statement. You know, and I had to shut him. I really didn't want to because it was his moment, but I had to remind him that since it was his moment, I only wanted to deal with him. And it all kicked off 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night when Drew Brees actually faced off against a stingy defense and had what was to be his worst night of the 2009 season. And that is what exactly started the woes of, or the worrying of Coach Harry and the rest of the Giants. Drew Brees' input on this game was not the normal Drew Brees we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing Drew Brees put up 3-4 touchdowns a night, and in this game he hadn't put up any, and he actually didn't even get in double-digit points. You know, when I brought that to the focus, Coach Harry actually thought it was through at that moment until he witnessed Tom Brady of the what's that guy's name? West Coast Riders, Killers, or whatever, Gangbangers, Jerry Curlers. You know, Brady had to go up to Buffalo, and he actually didn't have a strong output himself. He was struggling against what appeared to be that night as a stingy Bills defense. But, you know, it's one of those things to where it just works out to your advantage. You know, and with the way the defense is played out, you know, Dre actually had, I'm sure, once he saw Drew Brees' night, that he actually thought that he was actually going to win that game. And, you know, it just didn't turn out to be so. It turned out to be a tough-fought match to where it actually went down to the last game on that Sunday night, and it was pulled out by Elvis Harry. Now, you know, I also spoke to Harry about, you know, how he prepared for the weekend, and it just came to be an unfortunate situation. To him, you know, he said that he was at his mother's house and she had no cable, so he couldn't get any scores. You know, he didn't have his cell phone with him. He couldn't get any updates. And I told him, I said, you know, it was just a real rough situation when the technical support team is not working in your favor. Because usually, you know, other coaches are biting their nails by the quarter trying to look at the score or, you know, finding out what's going on the airwaves. And, I bet you by the second game, um, Dre of the Fantasy Football Killers, actually, he probably thought, this is going to be an easy victory for me, even though Tom Brady stumbled. Even though Brady stumbled, I'm sure he was completely confident in his team to pull out a victory because he still had some people on his roster that should have actually helped him through the way. He still had Steven Jackson, Ray Rice, and Deshaun Jackson, but it all didn't work out for him as he pretty much probably expected. And I know he was saying, oh, once Drew Brees was done, he wasn't saying I got a shot. He was saying I'm gonna win this thing and I'm gonna be able to talk smack. And I'm sure he got humbled by this whole experience, but it just goes to show you, Dre, in the immortal words of Big Daddy Kane, put a quarter in your ass because you played yourself, fella. And that's just too bad that you actually thought you actually had the race before the race had ended. He had a pretty good year, but his year, once again, Elvis Harry just pulls it out, and with the stops that he's pulled out, 107 to 127. This was close, but it wasn't as close as it appeared to be. Another point that I want to bring to the rest of you guys in the league, including myself, not because of the fact that there wasn't a repeat from last year, but specifically, Elvis has been in fantasy football inside of 3 or 4 years, and I want to run his team down to you. He did have Drew Brees, who only got him a half point in his championship game, by the way. Ahmad Bradshaw, Jamal Charles was a great pickup. Brandon Marshall did well for him this year, did very well. Marcus Colston, Miles Austin was another great acquisition with Jamal Charles mid-season. Vasanti Shenko in the Texans defense, and Nick Folk for the Dallas kicker. Good luck there. But, still, he had Marion Barber, Bernard Berrien, Cadillac Williams, Zach Miller, Rock Cartwright, and the Giants defense. You look back at this team and you say, geez, how do they not lose? How do they lose 5 games? Well, aside of the 5 games, he beat the meat of his schedule. He did actually beat me when I was ranked number 1. One of my losses came to him. And he did top off the new number 1 guy at that time and the fantasy football killer. So he actually did some things in this league this year that were quite impressive. Along with that, when I talked to him when I had a midseason interview, I remember him saying off the air that, it was merely just a hobby for him. This is something that he did just to spend time with the rest of the comrades in the league. And for somebody who comes in the league and does this to you, drafts well, keeps his team above 500, 2 championship performances in a row, and now he's taking home the coveted Big Things Fantasy Football League trophy. It's shocking. It's shocking. So, I was out at the at the banner hanging ceremony at Lennox Lounge, and I saw how electric the crowd was. Coach Harry got brought in and out on shoulders of innocent people that he hadn't known. This is the first championship anything that's been to Harlem since Joe Louis. So, congratulations once again to Elvis Harry, the new number 1. He is the champion. He starts off the preseason ranked number 1 again. Way to go. Great draft. Not a lot of people had faith in him. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great season. It's Trey Gibson, Big Things Fantasy Football, signing off, and I'll see you next year.